Good day to you wherever you are in the world. I realize we're all in different locations. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it may be. I hope that you are all good, that you're safe, that you're healthy, and that your families and friends are in the same way. My name is Simon Chadwick. I am Professor of Eurasian Sport at EM Lyon Business School. I'm based in Paris and Shanghai, and I will be hosting the first part of the webinar. I actually drew the lucky straw, so I get to host the second part of the webinar as well. So if you want more, then you can stay the whole afternoon and be with me. One of the things that we're going to be doing this afternoon is to talk about education and learning. And one of the things, as you may have just heard, I was discussing with our guests, is one of the things that I've learned this year is how to deal with things and we deal with screens. So I'm currently surrounded by screens. So can I just say to you all, if you find me not looking at the screen today, it's not because I'm being rude, it's because I'm trying to juggle all of these different screens. So can I begin by welcoming everyone to the second annual Generation Amazing Youth Festival. We're really excited to have hundreds of youth from Qatar, the region, and the world joining us today. The Generation Amazing Festival is a 3-day virtual summit being run from the 2nd until the 4th of December, which aims to inspire youth to use the power of football to create positive social change in their communities. Today marks 10 years since Qatar won the bid for the 2022 World Cup. Hence, we are celebrating 10 years of the Generation Amazing journey by starting the festival on this historic day. I think I was younger back then. I'll come back to you on that one. Generation Amazing would like to thank the following organisations that it has been working with. Its strategic partner, Qatar Foundation, its supporters, Qatar Airways, UCFB, and B for Development, its media partner, Bein, and its technical partner, Ooredoo. We are honoured to begin with to be joined by the Secretary General of the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy, His Excellency Hassan Al-Thawadi, for an opening discussion, which will be followed by subsequent panel discussions. It's almost as though we practiced that, Hassan, because you appeared just on time, right on cue.
I didn't know if you were live or not live. I mean, I'm not so sure, Simon. Are you live?
I hope we're live, otherwise I've just wasted that opening statement.
It's perfect timing.
It's great that you're here and your timing is perfect. And can you begin for us by telling us just a little bit about Generation Amazing? Where have you come from? Where are you now, and where are you going to in the future?
Well, I mean, it's been I think probably we say a 10-year journey, but it's actually been a 12-year journey. We started the concept during the bid, where we believing the power of football and the power of sports in terms of changing people's lives and empowering people. We launched this during the bid. And then after we won the bid, we continued our commitment to ensure to reach as many people as possible. And the concept was simple. It was using football to develop personal skills, leadership skills, communication skills, to kind of instill also, or to assist in instilling a sense of civic duty towards our community and society and so on. It started off, like I said, about 12 years ago. We took off from after we won the bid. And today I'm very proud to say our goal was to reach about, I think about 1 million people by 2022. And we're we're on our way towards achieving that. Today, I think we're, you can see today in terms of the engagement and at least the participation of everybody that's on board in the Youth Festival. We've got about 500 people joining from about 140 last year. It's been a joy to see Generation Amazing growing. The partners that we've got on board, the ambassador. I'd like to thank everybody that's I can see on the front of the screen with me today, that kind of believed and captured the spirit of what Generation Amazing is about, and that is truly to utilize sports not just in terms of just participation, but rather in terms of an enabling tool towards the development of individuals.
Now, I know you're a very busy guy, Hassan, and you've got lots to think about. It's gone from 12 years now to only 2 years left before it all starts. So I know that you have to go and do other things in a short while. But can I ask you for your insights? What's going to be happening over the next 3 days of the festival? What is the festival all about?
It's again, it's a well, obviously, with COVID coming on board, unfortunately, the physical festival, the youth festival, which we hosted last year, along with the FIFA Club World Cup, it wasn't possible. So the next 3 days, it's essentially webinars, people providing webinars to the youth who registered and participated in terms of. Like I said, utilizing football for development. So there's a lot of discussions, a lot of sessions set out. I believe UNICEF has got a webinar session coming on board, PSG, and a number of different partners, along with Qatar Foundation, of course. There's a number of different sessions provided along a wide range of subjects for all the participants. And I think it's going to be a very, very rich, very hopefully engaging next 3 days. And again, on the eve of 10 years and 2 years to go. So.
And if we could get a message from you just before you go away to do other things, what would your message be to the young people who are joining us today? Well,
that's a huge responsibility on my shoulders to do that. But the way I'll say it plain and simple. I'm very proud to be a part of this. I'm very proud and I'm very thankful for everyone that's registered, everyone that has shown an interest in our program. I truly hope that our program serves your personal purpose and your personal goals, that we contribute, even if it's to a certain small degree, towards assisting you in building your future, assisting you in being part of your future. And I look forward to every single one of you also contributing towards ourselves being able to achieve our goals as well. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Today is the start of a new partnership and a new family, and welcome to the family.
So thank you for joining us, Hassan, and thank you for those words.
And thank you all. Thank you everybody. I just want to thank everybody as well, everybody that's on the call and everybody that's participating and everybody that's taken time out of their very, very busy schedules to be here. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, Hassan. Thank you. If I could next turn to Mashail and to Yuri. If I can begin with you, Mashail, and really discuss the issue of education, development, and young people. How important do you think is sport in bringing together young people and enabling change, instigating developments? Obviously, Qatar Foundation plays a very important part, a very important role in this. So I look forward to your views on that.
Thank you very much, Simon. I just like to say thank you for having us here, and I'd like to echo His Excellency Hassan's thoughts on how excited we are about this festival. Obviously, we've changed modes and it's all virtual now, but I'm really happy to be a part of this. Qatar Foundation is a foundation focused on education, research, and community development, and we're here to unlock human potential. And we thought, partnering with Generation Amazing was very much aligned to our goals, because the fact of the matter is, youth and children today, and adults alike, actually, do not learn just from schools or textbooks or mainstream education. They learn from life. And I think, particularly when it comes to role models and looking at others around them, sports and sports players alike play a very big role in that, when the youth are trying to emulate their lives, or they look up to them because they admire them. The way I see it is, sports instills incredible behaviors, and values that cut across different sectors in our lives. It teaches them things like, teamwork, fairness, leadership, respect, and most important, cross-cultural differences and tolerance. And I think, this might be also, you heard His Excellency when he said, this is why they also, thought about creating this program. When we see the world that we live in today, frankly speaking, it's sad when we see so much divisiveness, partisanship, intolerance. And so when children can look to something through sport and the message that it brings through education and sport, I think it paints a picture in a child's mind that is very vivid. and an immensely valuable one. So it definitely, sports for us is a very, very big part of what we do in the foundation. And also, I think, if I'm quite honest, sports equalizer. It brings people from all different walks of life and different paths to come together. And when children can look to, let's say, any sports team or a football team, and they see people from different nationalities, different walks of life, all together, despite their differences, focusing on one shared goal, it shows them again that there's something greater than the individual themselves, and they can all come together through that, and the inclusiveness of the sport itself.
I think that's a really interesting observation, because I would say to anybody who's here today is just look at the screen in front of you. 4 women, 2 guys, different parts of the world, different backgrounds, different outlook on life, and I think we sometimes forget, right in front of our faces, what we're talking about is actually happening to us right now. If I could just follow up on your observations there. What role do you think what role do you think football will play as we begin to come out of this pandemic period? Do you think sport plays an even more important role, or do you see its role changing? How do you see what's happening or what will happen in the future?
The way I look at it, and I think just a short 12 months ago, our lives were completely disrupted, I think, in a way that none of us could have ever imagined. And one of the lessons from COVID was the focus on health and the immune system and the importance of well-being. And sports is a medium through which we can ensure that we have, are focusing on our health and our well-being. Also, through the practice of sports at whatever level, whether it's top tiers that we have here on this panel, very distinguished players, or grassroots community sports level. I think when you take the time to focus on yourself, all of these elements, again, show us the importance of focusing on oneself and what we can do to come through COVID. I think another angle that I'm also looking at it from, from where we sit in the foundation, is the role that sports, sports players in whatever field it is, organizations, clubs, etc., play. Because, we talked about how youth emulate to look for these role models, and they see, whether you are interested in global affairs, you're interested in health, or looking into the pandemic and what it brings. What we do know is people do look up to these sports people, and when they come up to talk about these issues, when they bring it to the forefront, and as we've seen recently, a lot of heroes, players around the world are donating millions to the cause and helping us with the pandemic, and different football clubs thanking, for example, their key workers. I think, again, it shows the importance of the role modeling and what sports can do for this. I think, again, it also highlights the importance of inclusivity and making sure that we're not forgetting different parts of society. Again, sports is, in my opinion, very inclusive. We in the foundation try to make sure that we have, and we are increasing our ability-friendly programs, and using the various platforms that sports players have around the world to address global issues, whether it be UN Sustainable Development Goals. I think if we were able to achieve them, that in of itself would be one of the biggest challenges that we have on our planet today. But also, we saw, if I give just a small example, the British football player, Marcus, who really put his weight and his focus on ensuring that children, underprivileged children, were getting access to free meals, in the UK. Something that the government had stepped back, said no, reversed their decision because of the weight of a role model in that field, was able to push it forward, and we saw that they then were able to get access to it. So I think sports plays a huge role. We've seen it in Quebec with an Education City. We've all not been able to go to matches and whatnot, but that didn't stop us from unveiling the stadium. We're very proud that we were able to launch it virtually through the help of the Supreme Committee, having a lot of matches happening, and all the fans are tuning in virtually, which offers, again, a respite from our daily lives, and hope that life will go back to a semblance of normality.
Okay, thank you, Mashiel. Thank you for your views. Can I just take a step back a little at the moment? We are around 15 minutes past the hour. At 45 minutes past the hour, we're going to conclude the session. Then there will be a 15-minute meditation break. So if you're still around for that 15-minute meditation break, that would be great. To come back into the session, just responding to you, Masha, what you said there is I think this whole area of athlete activism is a very interesting one. You mentioned Marcus Rashford there, the Manchester United player, and there are lots of other examples. Naomi Osaka is somebody else who's stood out this year. So that's something that certainly interests me. But moving on to our other guests, I know that Andrine's got an excuse. She said she's told me that she has to go to training. You're with a great team already, Andrine. You don't need another one. But if I could go to you, because I know that you do need to leave us, and if I could continue with that COVID theme. Obviously, COVID has led to a whole series of issues, some clearly much more serious and significant than others. But we hear a lot about the role that sport either is playing or potentially will play in addressing some of those challenges created by the pandemic. Can I ask your view from Italy, from Rome? How do you see the role of football moving forward from here? What contribution do you think that football can make to not just the pandemic, but I guess particularly young people and how the pandemic has affected them?
Yeah, first of all, sports have a massive impact in people's daily life, and sports tend to reach many people all over the world. Same here in Italy. Football is one of the biggest sports, and we see now that youngsters are suffering maybe from schools being closed, they're losing the social benefits from that, or psychological and mental stress can affect with schools shutting down, etc. So right now, for instance, Roma has an offer for the kids to still stay active, being allowed or able to come to training, both for girls and boys. So it's equal opportunity there. I think that small stuff like that is really important. We see during the lockdown, the club helped providing food for those who were in a big risk that couldn't leave their house. And something that touched me during lockdown when I was back home in Norway was I saw clips from Rome when my teammates were stuck in their apartments where hundreds of people came out on the balcony singing one song, and that was the AS Roma theme song. And that symbolized so much that sports is so much more than just the physical effort you put in training or games. It connects the people no matter what background or gender or age. It's a bridge between like communities or generations, I would say. And seeing those videos from Norway even gave me hope when I was like feeling really down or whatever. Seeing them connect through the AS Roma football team is something special, and I think that's what's something special about the sport as well.
That's actually really interesting what you've said there, because I think very often a lot of people tend to see this as being unidirectional, that somehow you as players, you're going to make us feel a particular way. But obviously you're human beings too, and you have feelings and thoughts and emotions. And to hear you say, that made me feel different and special. And I think that's a really interesting point to make. I think it's also interesting that you play for Roma, because obviously Roma, in terms of some of the things that it has done in recent years, and I'm thinking about the whole issue around homelessness and locating, not homelessness, missing people and locating missing people. Is a very interesting one. But has anything caught your eye, in particularly in the world of football, where you think, yeah, that's been a really good thing, that's been a really good project in terms of the pandemic?
But more that the value of football, how it can connect people, even though we're far apart. People might feel isolated. You feel like you're together, even though you're not physically together with the group. You feel you're a part of something, and I think that gives meaning to life in somehow, just being seen. I think everyone has has a need to be seen, or in some way. It doesn't have to be if you score a goal or if you have an assist on the field. It's just like being a part of something bigger than yourself. I think that gives meaning into your daily life. And also like the small, I think also football and sports in general is a big and valuable tool for communication and raising awareness. During my time in quarantine in Norway, being away from the team, I still got information. We could be role models in terms of information, just like how to keep your hygiene in a good way, providing the pandemic to spread in the world. So it's a big tool, and yeah, it has a lot of benefits, not just apart from being on the pitch.
Okay, so thank you for that, and I'm going to move on to Tim in just a moment. But if you disappear from our screens, Andre, I know it's because you've got more important things to get ready for coming up at the weekend. And thank you for participating in the in the discussion. Tim, obviously you're a Supreme Committee ambassador. Can you tell us what your role is with Generation Amazing and what contribution you make to it?
Firstly, it's a privilege to be on here with you ladies, superstars, VIP guests, big fans, as you know. But I think the role for me is I've been lucky enough to have a long career. Played in India, China, England, America. One of the biggest things football does is we don't need to all speak the same language to play the game. Learning about different cultures, understanding kids, adults, families, and then using that now with Generation Amazing, really work on grassroots programs, work on educational programs, be able to articulate the message of what's important. Listening to the ladies speak before me, it's our job as to give something back and share our experiences. You talk about players like Marcus Rashford and all these sorts of people. It's inspirational that young kids can really be great ambassadors for what they believe in and also what they grew up in. So I enjoy being on these webinars. I enjoy sharing the message. I enjoy being a part of Qatar. It was 10 years ago, near enough to this day, when Qatar won the bid. I was there with Australia in Switzerland, and also watching the growth. I work in Qatar with the under-16s national team. I was spending 1 week a month with my A license. So for me, I've seen the progression of Qatar. I've seen them win the Asian Cup, and these sorts of things don't happen by luck. This happens by depth and really going into detail of what goes behind everything that happens. So Generation Amazing is exciting for me because I write children's books. I've done grassroots programs around the world, and I get to work with amazing people. So it's just a natural progression that I can be a part of something special 2 years till it comes to fruition.
It's interesting you talk about being in the country or being part of the award ceremony 10 years ago when the bid announcement was made. 10 years ago, that was the first time that I visited Qatar, and I've been back lots and lots of times since. But I'm not going to answer this. You're going to answer this too. What are the differences that you've seen in terms of the way in which I think Qatar has developed, but also preparations for the World Cup have developed, and the infrastructure around sport has developed. What are the changes, the big changes that you've seen?
It's sincerely breathtaking. I traveled to Qatar over 10 years ago. I had a problem with my foot, an injury, and I used to go to Aspetar for recovery with Everton. And I took players like Phil Neville with me, and I played there every year. Every year we played probably a game with the national team against Qatar because we're part of the Asian qualifying group. I holidayed there, so not really built up. It's still built up, and now I see stadiums. Now I see the presentation coming to fruition in the fact that when I watched the actual presentation, I could see the innovation and technology 10 years ago inside that arena. To say there was going to be air conditioning stadiums, and then to sit in the stadiums now with my wife and to be cold as I'm sitting in there when were at one of the openings, and then also to be on pitch level and to feel how cool it was. On top of that, the sustainability projects, the things where they say 10 years ago that they're going to lift 20,000 seats off and they're going to give it to another country, neighboring countries or countries in need. To see it now, stadiums made of containers, all these sorts of things that for me, retired 2 years, it makes me really proud because Education City, I was there for the opening. I played in a tournament outside with the SC staff. It was just unbelievable. I've played in so many amazing stadiums and 4 World Cups, and it felt like I was at a World Cup, and it's so early and the stadiums are already completed. So I'm blown away. But always they're trying to achieve excellence, and that's the reason why they say they want to deliver amazing.
Thank you, Tim. Carly, if I could turn to you, you're obviously on the other side of the Atlantic. And I just wondered how do people see Qatar and how do people see its preparations and some of the projects like Generation Amazing that Qatar is involved in developing? What's the view from that side of the Atlantic?
I'm not sure. I don't know that it's obviously in my line of work, being around other professional athletes. I mean, we kind of all come together and talk about various things. But, I feel like America is a little bit removed from some of that stuff. We have so many other sports that compete with football. Football across the world, the other part of the world is a little bit more well-versed on it. But I think that it's always something that's to be talked about when a World Cup is being celebrated and the host nation is doing very important things like this. And I think that that's really what it's all about. As we've all, sat here and talked about, playing the sport is amazing. Being on the field, once you step in between those lines, the team comes together for one common goal, and that's to win games, win World Cups. But when you step off the pitch, what are each of us doing individually to make the world a better place? And I think that everybody uses their platforms in a different way. For me, it's more on the inspiration side. Just harping on young kids and people to never give up on their dreams. And all of that. But I think that what Generation Amazing and Qatar, how far they've come in a pretty short amount of time is pretty remarkable. So I think that it's just a credit to players all around the world doing their part, and everybody a part of the journey.
You've talked there, Carly, about being a soccer player in a part of the world where soccer doesn't always come to mind readily for people. But presumably you're also aware of what's happening in basketball and baseball and hockey and wherever else. Are there examples from either football or these other North American sports that you really would highlight and say, look, this is a really powerful project. This is an amazing initiative. There are really great changes that are resulting or that are coming out from these projects. Is there something that has caught your eye that you think we should be aware of?
My computer froze. Could you just repeat I don't know what, it was buffering.
Yeah. So what I was asking is have there been any projects around development and youth and sport in North America, perhaps in basketball or baseball or some of these other sports that you think we should be aware of?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that, what's crazy about here in America is youth soccer is so incredibly popular. It's probably one of the top sports where parents get their kids involved in. And then we start to kind of go through that journey of them evolving and getting older. They go into high school and then they go into college, and then I feel like it kind of dives off. Whereas, everybody overseas who's playing football is, they're playing around the clock. Some of them aren't even going to normal schooling. Basketball's got leagues and different things that they do. I'm not incredibly well versed in some of the other things that some of the other sports do, but it's huge. Sports in America is very popular, and we just gotta keep pushing soccer here to kind of rise to the top.
Okay, thank you, Carly. Karina, Carly actually said something really interesting, and I think we possibly talked about this on a previous webinar that I was involved in. Is I served as a board member of Women in Sport in the UK, and one of the big issues for women in sport was drop off in participation. So you get to certain points, and clearly this can be a gender issue, but it can also be an issue in other contexts as well. People feel they have to study, or people have got family circumstances that dictate they can't continue. So, in terms of your work, Karina, when it comes to issues like drop off, what does football have to do? What should football do to prevent drop off in participation or activity in sports, do you think?
I can say it as a player, and I think everybody on this call can say how sport changed all of our lives. It basically helped define who we were. And I think with CONCACAF, we have 41 different countries with 41 different realities. And I think the conversation we're having now is to show the power of the game. The game isn't always about winning and losing in certain countries. It's about just the fact of getting out there and playing. And we have programs in CONCACAF where a girl has never ever touched the ball, and we drop a ball and her life changes in a day. You see her be more confident. You see her hear her voice. You see a young girl be seen and feel like they're heard. And I think that's one of the things we try to focus on is the power of this game and what it can do. I've traveled around the world, and you see when you drop a ball that you can discuss anything. And as we've talked about, it breaks barriers. It breaks barriers on race, ethnicity, anything you want to say. Once you cross that line, things change. And I think for us, it's to show what the game can do. As Carly was talking about, in a country like the US, you go through youth, and then you go through high school, and then you go through college, and then what? But in some of our different countries, it's just getting these girls to say that, you know what, if I kick a soccer ball, I'm somebody. For me, that was my reality. I was the shyest kid in the world with nobody ever believes. And then I kicked the soccer ball, and then you couldn't shut me up, because all of a sudden I felt like I was connected to something, as Andreen said, connected to something bigger than myself. And I think everybody here on this panel can connect to that, is that this game can change your life for the better. And I think that's what we just try to highlight so much at CONCACAF. That's what you guys try to highlight with Generation Amazing. And I think globally, I think that's what we want to do with this game. We try to win on the field, but once we step off the field, we want to use our voices and a platform to truly make a difference to the next generation's lives, or to anybody who will listen, really. And I think we're role models, but testaments to what this game can do for an individual.
And I would agree with you, Karina. From my own personal perspective, I can't kick a ball very well. So I was, which, as I said in the preparation for the webinar, this is why I'm an academic. I can kick a ball straight, even though I would have liked to. But I have what I call my taxi driver test. So no matter where I go in the world, I always sit in the front seat of the taxi, and I always say to the driver, "What's your favorite team?" And inevitably, 99% of people have a favorite team. 1% don't, but they'll tell you then why they don't have a favorite team. And I think for anybody who's listening today, it's not just a case of participating and playing. It's the conversation that we have about football and the connections that we build. And even being here today, as we've said, the fact that we're in front of you on screen talking about sport, talking about football, I think is testament to the power. If I could go back to you, Mashail, could you tell me a little bit about some of the programs that you have at Qatar Foundation around sport and youth and development and transformation? So we've talked a lot, but in terms of the front line and doing this, what are some of the things that QF is doing?
Thank you, Simon. Obviously the foundation is very large, and so we have a lot of sports. Actually, we have obviously golf. We have our newly launched Education City Golf Club. We also have obviously football, swimming, horse riding. We have a world-class equine center. The offering is very diverse, but I think one of the things I would love to talk about here is the Ability Friendly Sports program that we launched in 2018. As community development, our role is to keep our pulse to the ground, hear what's happening within the community, and what we discovered, a huge and diverse offering that we had within the foundation. What we found was that there was a segment of society that didn't have access to our facilities for various reasons, not because they weren't welcome, but because they just didn't feel that either they had the coaches or the ability to come in and play. And so we targeted and developed an ability-friendly program where we offer swimming, football, and horse riding, as a method where we did a train the trainer model. We brought some coaches from Liverpool Foundation, worked very closely with them to train some of our staff, bring in volunteers, coaches, parents from across the community, and say, how can we scale this? How can we bring in people who otherwise wouldn't have walked through our doors? And what we found is, by talking to the parents, by talking to families, there's a huge demand, and in a short space of time, we've trained over 2,000 children and families, and they've moved up, if you will, not the ranks, but their comfort level. There were kids who came to the door who wouldn't be able to kick a ball, exactly as you said, Karina, but the very fact that you make them feel welcome, that you give them the ball, it's that respite, not only for that child, but for the whole family, because they get to come in and see how everyone is interacting with each other. And as I mentioned before, it cuts across in different aspects of their life. It moves beyond just playing the sport of football to how they interact with their peers, how they interact in school. We've seen kids who are not able to access mainstream education as a result of football. It transpired in the space of 2 years where they're now entering into education and mainstream education. So I think that's why, honestly, we can, and we're going to continue to do more. And we hope, I think we're doing a lot with Generation Amazing there as well. And I hope that we can continue to scale that, because it just shows you again what sports can bring, and particularly football, to different people's lives.
And if I could just follow up on that, Qatar, of course, has a national sports day. I
Yes.
think worldwide there are only 6 countries, if I remember correctly, maybe 5 countries in the world that have a national sports day.
Yes.
For the people who are joining us, and I'm noticing we've got almost 100 people online listening to us. So for people who are unfamiliar with Qatar's National Sports Day, can you explain what it is and what takes place on that day?
Yeah, absolutely. So His Highness the Emir launched the National Sports Day. And as you mentioned rightly, Simon, there are a few countries in the world, which just goes to show how much importance we place as a nation on sport, well-being, health, and active citizenship. And essentially what it is we encourage, so it's, some people, it's not a day off, it's a day where all organizations around the country mobilize and come together to offer sports, all types of sports. On that day, all members of society come in through the different facilities. Usually most of the sporting facilities are open to all members of the public. They come in, enjoy. It's a family fun-filled day. Again, it's a day where your top tier players and your average Joe come in together, and they get to enjoy it. They interact. And I think, I'll be very honest, when it started a few years ago, it was seen as, okay, we have to go in and, kick a ball or run around for a bit, to actually transforming. And we've seen, the numbers, the data shows that as a result of that sports day, which is the second Tuesday of February every year, sports is becoming a really big part of everyone's life. They start to, they might take something up on that day because it's mandated by their employer or whatnot. Then it becomes something that becomes part of their life because they've enjoyed it. And then, the kids and the parents and their colleagues, everyone together, taking up different sports. And within QF, Education City, we have so many sports across the city, welcoming everyone to come in and enjoy our different facilities.
Okay, thank you. We've got a relatively short period of time left. We could continue to talk for a long period. There's so much to discuss. But I want to conclude just ahead of the meditation session, by asking something which I think for many of the young people who are here today, they probably really want to know. And just some of the answers are going to be inspiring in their own right. And I'm going to go to you, Carly, first. And it's a very simple question. What's it like to win the World Cup? How did you feel? How did that make you feel?
The first one in 2015 was it was remarkable. I mean, our team has had a long history of success all these years, and there was a lot riding on it. We got close in 2011, unfortunately lost to Japan in the final, and then there was just so much momentum. It was 16 years. So to have finally won it in 2015 was pretty amazing, and then 2019 as well was another amazing. I can't complain winning 2 World Cups.
But kind of deep inside, were you thinking about your mom and dad, or were you thinking about your friends, or were you thinking, all of those early mornings and late nights in kind of running up and down wet fields? What were you thinking at the time when this happened?
Yeah, it was all the sacrifices. As a kid, I grew up in a very small town in New Jersey, and I had talent, yes, but I also had the inner drive within me to want to succeed. And so as a kid, I went through playing many different sports when I was younger, which I think, helped me to this day and age, and in my career. And then once I turned pro, I had to sacrifice everything. Everything came second. Soccer and the ball was my number one focus for 15 years. It's still my focus. I've got a little left to go in the tank. And it just reminds you that it's all worth it. Every single bit of it, waking up at 6 a.m., training early, training in the snow, training in the heat, training in wind, doing hill sprints, just going through that daily grind of what you sacrifice. You sacrifice any normal semblance of a life, and it reminds you that it's all worth it, in the end. And it's been an amazing journey.
And I'm going to quickly ask Andreen, Karina, Tim as well. So Andreen, for you, is there a particular experience or a particular game or a particular goal or a particular competition that sticks in your mind? Again, in terms of an inspirational story for people who are listening.
It's actually funny that you mentioned the World Cup. I remember exactly where I were when you scored a hat-trick, Carly, in the final. Me and my sister, who later on scored a hat-trick in the Champions League final, were watching the game, and we still talk about it. We just have this memory of us two watching that game, and we felt inspired. And I think that's also a reminder to all the youth and young people listening today, is that we've all been in your position as well, being young, dreaming about winning, wanting to lift trophies, want to achieve things. So I just want to say to the kids before I leave and go out to training in the rainy weather today, that I think also that we need to remind ourselves that we are all a big inspiration to each other. Even the youngsters listening today should not underestimate their power in being an inspiration, even if it's for yourself or the teammates around you. I think it's to get the best out of teams, you got to get the best out of yourself. So together we can also inspire each other, and you must not forget that.
Actually, great point. Can I say great point? As somebody who's been involved in education for 30 years, my students are the biggest inspiration, the biggest motivation every day. So here, I agree with that. Tim,
yeah, I believe that.
Tim, big standout for you, big inspiration for you.
Simon,
it's okay.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Take care.
Good luck.
Enjoy the festival.
Thank you. See you.
I think for me, it's my dream was just to be a professional footballer, but to play in a World Cup and score is something to me. I think you've had so many idols, and your parents and everyone many sacrifices. But I think a real special moment we had at the last Women's World Cup. We were there. Karina, you were there as well. Carly come over with a gold medal, with a winner's medal, and we had a photo with her, and it's just amazing because we get to share special moments throughout our career. And I've got a daughter. Karina was so special with my daughter at the last Women's World Cup, and my daughter's a big fan also of Carly. And I had a photo, and I showed it to my daughter, and she was blown away. So I think it just goes to show how we all inspire each other in different ways. So for me, it's pretty amazing. I think Simon went for a walk.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Karina, you've got the last word.
I mean, I think, first of all, I remember that moment. It was all three of us hanging out in France. I think just like what Carly said and what Tim said, like I've had the honor of participating in 5 different World Cups, and it's a special moment. But I think the thing is when you see the power of the game and you talk to the kids, and if this message is for the kids, is that, you know, all of us dared to dream ridiculously big. And all of us had people who told us we couldn't do it. And I think every young kid will go through that. But if you dare to dream like so big, it scares you, and you're willing to work hard, you're willing to not listen to those who tell you can't do it, but you're willing to understand that you have greatness within yourself and to go after that. I think anything's possible. Carly's won her World Cups. I haven't. Tim's done so many legendary things. You know, for all of us, I think we've been able to live a beautiful life, and it all started with daring to dream a dream that was true to ourselves but bigger than anyone else's. And so to the kids out there, just say, enjoy yourself. I know it's a difficult time, but just continue to dream big and work hard, because anything is possible. It sounds like a cliche, but I think we're all on this call a testament of exactly that.
Everyone, thank you. It's been a pleasure listening to you. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Some of the things you've shared with us today have certainly certainly inspired me. Continue supporting Qatar. Continue doing your best for football. And thank you for joining us. Thank you, everybody in the audience too. We're now going to take a break for a meditation. So I will leave Generation Amazing, someone at Generation Amazing, to intervene, to interject and lead the meditation. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.